So you want to win your wife back as fast as possible. Well, there are 7 reasons why she cannot let go of the past. Now, understanding these will help her to let go and also send you on the fast track towards reconciliation and a deeper emotional connection. You see, it's one thing to simply win your wife back, but it's a whole other thing to get her to forget your past mistakes and even apologize for bringing them up. And that's not simply because she's back in your arms again, holding you tightly, but because of the person that you needed to become to make that happen. And you don't have to take it from me, because today I will show you a man who did all of that when all hope was lost. And honestly, the biggest lesson I learned in the last decade of saving men's marriages is that there is truly only one proven path to win your wife back when she wants a divorce. So after I give you these 7 reasons why she can't let go of the past, at the end, I'm gonna show you and give you a role play of how to discuss these issues with your wife to help her to move forward with you. The first concept is the why. Now, this reoccurring act is less about the inability to let go and more about seeking a haven of understanding and emotional safety. The first mistake is that you think her bringing up the past is about her inability to let go and she wants to be unhappy. But here's the truth. Her biggest need in a romantic relationship, by far, is to feel emotionally safe. Now, let me tell you through a story. Recently, when I went on a trip, my partner, actually, she brought up something from the past that really upset her. And immediately, I got defensive, right? And she said, it's the 10th time this has happened. And instead of validating her emotions, understanding where she's coming from, doing all of that, I was like, well, are you sure it's 10? Let's go through and count these one at a time, right? That happened once, there, and twice. It's probably actually like 7 times. Now, hopefully you're laughing with me because every time I bring this up with a guy, they're like, yep, I do that. And the thing is that in that moment, you want to argue with the logic, the words she's saying, which is not the important part about why she's bringing this up. She has this like energy of emotion, right? And then she's not even thinking about what she's saying. She's just like, this is how I feel about it. This is happening all the time. She knows it's not always and never. But by you focusing on the words, you are completely neglecting all the emotion and concerns and needs she has in that moment, which makes her feel so understood. She thinks you're being defensive. And so guess what? She digs in more. Look, there is no logic to this. And this is the hardest thing for men because when we communicate, the biggest difference between men and women is that you'll do so through the lens of logic and she does through emotions and connecting and relating. I remember watching this training from Stan Tatkin. He's this like relationship expert. He uses like neurobiology and relationships. And he gave a story about a father and his son. And the son comes up to the father's super logical. And the son says, Daddy, am I gonna die? Because the kid just learned about death in school. And the logical father says, well, yeah, you're gonna eventually die. Everyone dies, son, and that's just part of life. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a bad idea to tell your child the truth, but in that moment, when it comes to relating, the child is feeling concerned and a fear of safety. How important is it in that moment that you tell them the truth about death? What they wanna hear, the son needed to hear the father say, you're gonna live a very long time. You're not lying to the kid, but you're making them feel okay. You see how that works? So when she's upset about something and she's complaining and you can argue with the word she's saying or using always or never, or how many times it actually was, in that moment, she needs one thing, your reassurance. Now, another way guys mess up when they want to get their wife to let go of the past is they try to fix the problem. So one of my clients I was working with, great guy, he dealt with porn addiction, right? And this porn addiction led him down a dark path. And he stopped doing it for about 4 to 5 months, right? But his wife caught him on Instagram one day looking through bikini photos, right? And in that moment, instead of understanding that his wife was triggered because that bikini photo remembered her of the time he was watching porn and understanding that from her, he started to say, but look, I've stopped watching porn for 4 to 5 months. Like, you know how hard that is? Like, this isn't the same. And plus, I'm not gonna go get off of that. And all he was doing was trying to justify and fix the problem that was happening in that moment to let her know that she shouldn't feel that way. Now for this next mistake, I personally hate this term.
Gaslighting.
But after a while, even though women use it so negatively that we have like a trigger response, or at least maybe I do, us men tend to actually gaslight. And all gaslighting is saying whenever something happens and she's upset about something, like bringing up the past, you as a guy, you're saying to yourself, look, if you just knew the intentions and how I actually really viewed it and how I didn't mean to hurt you, if you understood why I did this thing and it wouldn't upset you. You see, the injury doesn't come from your intention. The injury comes from the actual behavior. And so what you are apologizing and validating for is that your behavior in fact hurt her, whether you intended to or not. But a lot of guys think if she just knew that I didn't mean to do that, it was an accident, then she would change her perception. But the way she takes that is your feelings aren't valid. You shouldn't feel that way. And that resistance causes her to dig in more and that you don't understand her, you don't validate her, she's not okay feeling this way. And that is the definition of a gaslight. It is taking your sense of reality and saying, hey, look at this photo, put it on top of your photo. No, get rid of yours. This is the way you should see the world. This is the way you should perceive things. And you're trying to impose your reality upon hers. Now, this method is rarely ever effective when she is emotional. You can have a conversation with her later to help her understand your perspective, but in the moment when she's bringing this up, all you have to do is say, oh, I see the way you see the world. Oh, look at that. Effectively, what you're doing is you're putting your arm around her and saying, oh, I understand by this way of seeing it that you feel this way. You're not admitting your fault through that. You're just saying, I get what you see. And by doing that, she says, cool, I'm gonna move this photo out of the way. Now I'm open to receiving the way you see things. You lead first as the masculine in the relationship. This next point is that you take her moods too personally. I was recently on a group call, and I like getting on these group calls with men because I get to really point out the language they use and have other guys who are further along in the journey kind of like show them how it is. Iron sharpens iron, right? And that's the most amount of growth is on these group calls. And one of the guys was saying that his wife was hurting him and jabbing him and stabbing him and criticizing him and trying to tear him down. And the thing is that he was taking it personally. Yes, his behaviors are the thing that made her feel that way, but you can only feel hurt by her words if you have a wound already there. Right? And the thing is that she knows who you are and how you view yourself, and she will get upset about things that will trigger those wounds because it is an opportunity to grow them. The whole idea here is that she is testing you, and it is a subconscious process, which means she's not even consciously aware that she's doing it, but she's doing it for a positive perspective, which means she is doing this because she wants you to heal those wounds. And that's what we do in this relationship, is that in your marriage or any relationship with a romantic partner, you're going to expose each other's wounds. It's just going to happen. And you have to see that no matter who you're with, they're going to get exposed, but it is an opportunity for you to grow and learn those lessons. So when she's making you feel personal or attacked, it's something that you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why do I feel this way? It is something that I am dealing with, why those words are affecting me. Because let's face it, if your daughter or some random girl in the street said these things about you, would you care? Probably not, because they don't know you, but you know that she knows you, and so she sees you, and so when she says these things, you let it affect you. Now, I briefly touched on the test, which is the next part of this, which is she is doing all these things because she's deeply testing you. I have a whole video at the end of this video that goes more into depth about tests, but when it comes to testing, like when she's upset and criticizing and bringing up the past or whatever the negative emotion that comes up is, in that moment she feels disconnected from you. And whether functional or not, in that moment when she's upset, it is a way of connecting with you, isn't it? And I think you'll see if you kind of do an inventory of your past, every time she gets upset or she brings up the past or she is pissed off, you were probably distracted from her. You probably weren't leading her. You were probably being reactive. You were probably in a bad mood. And so whenever you are not in your highest, fullest, most authentic apex self, that's when she feels disconnected and unloved by you. And that's when the tests come up. Because if she feels fully loved, fully committed, fully accepted, she doesn't test you. Think of the best moments you've had with her. You were leading, you were confident, you were self-assured, you were unreactive, you were attentive to her, and you cared. Did she test you in those moments? I know she didn't, okay? So recognize that she needs reassurance, and it is all a test to make you a better man. That is the intention, because every test is a request in disguise for your love, your connection, and your authenticity to pierce through that shell that is pushing you away. Now, the seventh mistake is subtly or otherwise, you are still doing the thing that pisses her off. Now, maybe not directly. So let's say, for example, I told you guys that when it comes to the other client I was working with, yeah, he wasn't watching porn, but he was doing something that was still similar, right? And so if she's been upset with you before about not paying attention to details or procrastinating, not having integrity, right? So let's use integrity as an example. Let's say in the past that you always forgot to come home on time when you said you would, right? Things at work always popped up and she got upset about that. But then you handled that thing. But then you started saying other things you would do around the house and you stopped doing it. So she's gonna get upset about that. Now on the surface, those are different things. Oh, it's work and it's doing things around the house that she's upset about. No, that's why so many people have a misunderstanding about what actually causes relationships to fall apart, because those things are the same exact thing. It is a behavioral personality trait in yourself that you don't do what you say. And so the reason she keeps on bringing up the past is because she's seeing an inherent character flaw in you or something to work on that you are just letting affect different domains of your guys' life. So the testing video is right here. Thanks for watching this. If you want support, you guys know you can set up a call down below with our team and make sure you're fully committed. You're ready to win her back